Okay, so hello, it's Christy here from Clod of War. What I want to talk to you today about is brake bias. What I've been doing is trying to teach myself a little bit. I used to know this stuff, but it's been years since I played with setups at all. The last sim I did before starting up again a couple of months ago was GTR, which is a long time ago, and I'm very rusty. So I'm trying to remind myself of just the basics of setups at the moment. And the first one I've decided to attack is brake bias. Now, arguably, you should probably look at tyre pressures first. But brake bias is something that you can adjust on the fly while you're driving in certain cars. So it's probably a good idea to just kind of deal with that and show you the effects that what brake bias is, what effects it can have on handling. And so I'm going to just quickly take you through that. I'm using the Formula Trainer, which is equivalent, I think, of the Formula Ford. I will post below a setup which makes this car drivable. I found that when I started driving it, I was getting a thing called lift-off oversteer, which is when you lift your foot off the throttle mid-corner just to modulate the speed. And sometimes if you do that too much, lift-off oversteer will kick in, and it's to do with how much braking the engine does as well. And it basically made the back end step out and spin round. The setup that I found from online, and many thanks to the guy who posted it up on one of the forums. I think it might be I can't remember what race department I think it might have been. Yeah, that setup has given me a really good baseline from which I can then attack different setups and play with setups. The Formula Trainer is a really good car for just making adjustments and seeing what difference it makes to handling, because it's relatively simple as far as racing cars go. So without any further waffle, let's get on with it. So let's get into this tuning setup, and it's right there. You can tell it's one of the more basic things because it's in quick setup. Now, unfortunately, in this car you can't change it on the fly, so you've got to find a brake bias setup for yourself that works well through the whole lap. If you look at Formula 1 cars, you'll find one of the dials that the Formula 1 drivers are pretty much playing with throughout the entire lap is brake bias, as they change it according to the corner. Rule of thumb is that you want to be moving your brake bias forward if you are in heavy braking zones, and maybe slightly more back if you are just braking gently, trail braking through chicanes and the like. So that's basically the general rule of thumb. What is happening in brake bias is the two numbers, if you can see where I've highlighted here. So at the moment that's 6436. They'll always add up to 100. It's basically a percentage of the entire braking force that you're putting through the pedal is going to, in my case, 64% to the front, 36 to the back. What you want is you're basically trying to shift weight in the car. So what you want really is something that's going to allow you to turn in nicely under braking without losing control of the car. Now, what we're going to do just now is just see what happens when we go to the extremes. So first off, we're going to put all of our braking power, 100% of all the brakes is going to be going into stopping the front wheels. And let's see what happens. You can hear it locking up already. Just keep a weather eye on the temperatures. I'll point out what the temperatures are here as well. I'm just going to brake gently now. Watch the steering. Just didn't want to steer. And that's basically what happens if you put too much front brake bias in. Let's do it again. We'll try and... We've got a reasonably long straight with a relatively gentle braking zone because it's a third gear corner, second to third, depending how confident you are. So gentle brake, trying to turn. It's turning gently, but not doing what I want. The brake's just locked up. Broke traction with the road, or the tyres broke traction with the road, and no matter how hard I try to steer, they're not going to, because there's nothing to grip. The grip's completely gone. So let's go back. So if we have 100% front brakes, we're getting massive understeer. No steering at all, basically, even under gentle braking. Let's go the other way around. Okay, so now we're going to go, right, so we're at full 100% on the rears. Let's see how far around the track we can get. I'm going to be gentle on the brakes. I'm going to try and tiptoe around. So I'm not touching the brakes at all going around here, just coasting. Keep an eye on those brake temperatures as well. You'll notice the rear brakes light up. Okay, so I'm going round. There. Actually, you can see from the brake temps, I wasn't pushing very hard. I was maybe 25% brake power, pedal power on there. And basically what happens is that the rear tyres lose traction, front tyres still have traction, and basically they're just going to pivot. So the rear end pivots around what is effectively a stationary point, the point that still has grip. And so as you're turning, you're braking, it just spins round and you face the other way, and it doesn't take much. At 100% it doesn't take much. So let's do the same thing again. Now I'm going to be gentle. Now inevitably, when I'm braking, I'm probably going to be turning, especially if I want the trail brake. This is very important. So gentle brake. And I wasn't really touching the brakes very much at all there. I was maybe 10% of the way down, so no pressure at all. So from that experiment, we can surmise that basically brake bias at 100% is bad, no matter what you do, no matter which end you go for. But what we do know is that 100% brakes at the front leads to understeer, or biasing towards the front will tend towards understeer. Biasing the brakes towards the back will tend towards oversteer, i.e. the back end will step out and try and overtake the front. So what we want is to find a balance in the middle. Problem with that is that this depends on the general stationary balance of the car as well. So what we're doing when we're braking is shifting balance, and what we want to do is try and get more weight over the front of the car, or enough weight over the front of the car under braking. As you're braking, the weight shifts slightly to push down on the front wheels to help with turning, but you don't want too much and you don't want not enough. Obviously, I mean, that's too much and not enough, because otherwise you'll step out or you'll go off the road. So you don't want either of those things. So you need to find a happy medium, and that happy medium very much depends on how heavy your brake foot is. It also depends on the balance of the car when stationary. So this car has an engine in the back, which means that just standing still, it's got more weight over the back wheels. So you kind of want to balance that out with your brake balance by biasing it forwards. So what we'll do is I'll go out and do a lap. I'll do a warm-up lap, which I won't show. I'll just cut to the lap in anger, but we'll do a 50-50. Oops. Just to get a feel for the characteristics of perfectly balanced in terms of numbers brake bias on a car like this. Okay, so you just saw... right, okay, so here we go. That's 50-50. Just about to start the next lap, and you can already see that I'm actually still losing the back end under heavy braking. We'll keep on doing the lap. It's been okay in most of the kind of undulating areas, but as soon as you get a heavy braking zone, it's too much. Because you've still got, with the engine in the back, you've still got too much weight over the back under braking, and it just goes. So it just locks up. So let's go. I'm not getting enough turn in here either. That's difficult. Okay, so it's balanced through here. Third gear through here. Not an awful lot of turning. Managed though. I think my best lap is a 141 overall. I don't think I'm going to get near that, but I'm trying to demonstrate something else rather than outright speed here. I don't think that's a particularly fast lap anyway. Okay, so we're okay there, but braking uphill is a different beast. You can use the hill to do most of the braking. Right, so we expect it to be reasonably balanced through here. As long as I brake in a straight line, I can trail slightly. This is a conservative lap, but I've kind of had to be because I can feel it going. Right, let's see. And there it goes. Just to get turned around. We'll finish the lap. No we won't. It's been invalidated. Right, okay. So, you can see that that's problematic, even at 50-50, which is why the default, with this car particularly, is 60-40. And that's a reasonable balance. What we're going to do is actually go slightly to the other extreme. So initially I overreacted with brake bias and I went around this, and this actually stopped me from spinning out, and I could deal with the understeer, but the understeer was really quite marked. So let's do that. I'll cut to my next lap in anger. See you in a second. Okay, on the run up to the start of the lap, you can already see now what I got this time braking for that hairpin was a fair amount of understeer. So I'm going to brake earlier and kind of get off the brakes a little bit when I'm turning in. So I've got to completely change my driving style to make this work. But most drivers will tell you they prefer a little bit of understeer as opposed to oversteer. It's easier to cope with. It's not maybe as much fun, but it's easier to cope with. So let's see how we do through this section. This is a kind of more flowing section. I do feel like I need to dab the brake slightly to get the balance back there. That's fine through this flowing section, it's okay. Get a little bit better turn in there actually. Okay, so we're braking uphill, so it shouldn't be too bad here. But I am getting understeer, quite heavy understeer there. Braking uphill, I'll turn in beforehand. Sorry, get off the brakes beforehand and turn in. Okay, so how are we going to be through the chicane? Braking gently. Turned in, yeah, turned in much better. Just got this little bit more weight over the front as you're slowing down. Okay, so hard on the brakes. You can hear it squealing. You can hear tires losing grip. But it was controllable. Okay, that's not bad. Still, it's not perfect, but that gives us a relatively sedate 145. And look at the brakes. That's something you should bear in mind here. You can see the front brakes. Let's see if I can find a heavy braking zone. I mean, you can already see it here, but I'll stamp on the brakes in a sec. Watch the difference between front and rear brakes, and that can be a problem, because what's happening there is that clearly the front brakes are getting used more because there's more power going through the system to them, and they heat up and they end up staying outside of their operating temperature much longer and over a longer period, let's say 10, 15 laps. Maybe not 10 laps, 15, 20 laps. You might end up with brake failure. So in order to mitigate that, there's another setting that you need to know about. And this all depends on track temperature, weather, whether it's raining, again, your driving style. This is not one size fits all. This is definitely something you're going to have to play with to make it work right. But here we have the brakes again. Brake pressure, I don't play with really. I just, change whatever the pressure my foot's putting on the pedal. But you might find if you're too heavy on the brakes routinely, you might want to play with this setting. There's the brake bias setting that we've just been looking at. And here is the key to keeping your brakes cool. These are the brake ducts. So because I've got such heavy, what I'm going to do actually is take it back to what my preferred setting is at the moment, which is 64 to 36. I think this gives me a nice balance. I'm not really locking up the brakes anywhere. I'm able to turn in. I'm not losing the back end very often, and it's quite nice. But I am getting brakes that are getting quite hot, especially during a race. During a race, what you'll find is that you have to brake, obviously not just for the corners, but for other cars. And so your brakes start to get very, very hot really quite quickly, and it never cools down back to the point where it started before you have to hit the brakes again. So it gets incrementally hotter as the race goes on, and that's what leads to the brake failure. So it doesn't cure it completely, but you can mitigate it by opening these ducts. Now, I don't know for sure, but I would imagine that this adds to the drag, aerodynamic drag of the car. So you might want to play with this to find an optimal setting for your style and the track. But this is basically the way you keep your brakes cool. And again, like I said before, remember this is all based on the weather, whether it's raining, your braking style, all of that, all factors in. So what I set it at almost certainly won't be what you need to set it at. Okay, so I'm going to do a lap in anger. So I'll cut to that and see how we go handling wise. And this is the established setup that I now have for my brake bias. Okay, this is me starting the lap already. At this point, before the lap started, you can see I didn't have any understeer or oversteer at all. Now that's second last hairpin, which has been the problem corner with every other brake bias setup that I've shown you. I was hard on the brakes there. Got some good turning. I need to damp the brakes here to just keep the balance going. I do tend to oversteer through that section sometimes. I'm finding this really well balanced on the braking now. slight understeer. Damn it. Okay, so I've had a couple of warm-up laps. You can already see that hairpin, which has been a problem corner with every other brake setup. There was absolutely no issues there, no balance issues. I didn't understeer, I didn't oversteer. I was heavy on the brakes. The foot was planted and it didn't give me any issues. Just keep an eye on brake temps as well, just to see what that's doing with the ducts open. How quickly do they cool down? I need to dab the brakes here. Just re-establishes some balance, otherwise you get thrown off there sometimes. I find I oversteer in this car through that section. I think a roll bar change would probably fix that. Slight understeer there. I am biased to the front, so that's okay. Uphill braking, I can trail brake, no problems at all. Take out that pole. Okay, this can be a problem. So brake down to second. You could hear the wheels just start to skid, but it wasn't bad. Okay, we're up to the problem hairpin. Fully on the brakes, turning, absolutely no issues. Maybe went into the hairpin a little too fast. Okay, so we're a second up on previous lap. I'm actually still 2 seconds down on my best time, but that's not bad, and it does illustrate that the difference I think that brake bias makes. I do hope that that's what you get out of this. This isn't really, I mean, I'm trying to impart the knowledge that I've learned. I'm definitely a sim newbie, but I am actively going out to try and learn some of this stuff, and I feel it's actually quite a good learning process to make something like this video and teach other people and help other people. I do hope that it helps you. If I've got something wrong, please do let me know. I'm very much up for learning. This is not me trying to sell myself as a guru. This is me just sharing some knowledge. Look what I've just learned, type of thing. Please do like and consider subscribing as well if you got something out of this video. It means it makes a huge difference. If you feel like commenting and saying hello or letting me know what I've got wrong, please do that as well. All of this stuff does help enormously. I mean, this is very much the YouTube channel and everything is very much just a fun hobby for me. So, you know, say hello, make a connection. Other than that, stay safe, stay well, stay happy, and I'll see you next time.